Hello and welcome back to Dry Conversations. I'm your host, Whitney Cowell. Joining me today is Taylor. Hey, Taylor.
Good morning, Whitney. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for agreeing to be on here. This is really one of the first times that we've ever sat down and had a conversation. So I'm excited to learn more about you and to hear your story. So for anybody and for myself that may not know you, tell us a little bit about who you are and why we're here today.
Wonderful. Yes, Taylor Vandersteenhoven. It's a mouthful of a last name. My favorite shipper customer nicknamed me V15 because there's 15 letters after the V. And that's just a lot easier to say. If I could just have my email be V15, that would be a whole lot of time savings there. But my name's Taylor. I've been in freight for about 15 years now. I grew up on the brokerage side and really spent a lot of time growing, understanding, running my own agency for a while. Mm-hmm. So I love freight. I love trucking. And I've followed along your story over the last year or so. And I was with Jeremy Reimer down in Destin, Florida, earlier in the fall. And he had mentioned your name in this podcast. So I'm very excited to be here with you this morning.
Yeah, I'm really thankful for people that are spreading the word. I think every story matters, and people that are willing to share theirs. I think it's incredible, the people that are reaching out. And so, I know that you reached out to me and I just really appreciate that. So I just want to dive in and ask, what happened? How did this story get started? What's your origin story?
I've been alcohol free for almost 5 years. Your post on your birthday made me open up my app. I haven't checked my I Am Sober app in long enough for it to lock me out, which is, I guess, a good problem. I had my first son in 2020. He was truly a COVID baby. He came on March 17th of 2020.
Wow.
2 weeks, literally, right as the world was shutting down. 2 weeks early because I got really anxious. And I was a year postpartum and I hadn't lost any of the baby weight. And it was 2021. And we really needed to shift up our lifestyle. I just felt like, okay, you have 9 months to lose this baby weight. And I wasn't. Our lifestyle, we weren't exercising enough. We could easily share a bottle of wine at night. It wasn't like we got to the point, myself or my husband, where we were drinking, every day or really aggressively, but it was really unhealthy. And I wasn't sleeping well. I had a 1-year-old baby boy and I just didn't feel like myself. And I did dry January, that January 2021. And then I went skiing middle of February. And that was the best thing that could have happened. And I had some wine in the mountains. And that altitude really got me. And I remember waking up on that ski trip and it really messing up my morning of the few mornings I had to ski. And I had felt so good during that month in January. And I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this. And so March, it was sometime end of March, right around my husband's birthday and my son's first birthday. That was kind of my gift to myself and to my family then. I was like, I'm going to take a break from this. I didn't have a vision of, I'm never drinking again. I thankfully was able to get through it with family, friends, a really great therapist, but it's taken years, right? I think when we all, myself included, started drinking in high school, throughout college, it's so normalized. It's what you're supposed to do. And I didn't handle it well. My body started to really not be able to process it well either. Yeah. So it didn't matter how much I drank. I didn't feel good.
Right.
And I got so sick of feeling sick. Right. So it's been, like I said, it'll be 5 years this March. And honestly, I was talking to a friend at this conference in San Diego this week who, when I shared my story last fall at a panel, Overcoming Adversity, with the North Carolina group, I shared that I had cut out alcohol. And my friend, that I think inspired her to reevaluate her relationship with alcohol. And since then, she's really transformed. We were together at this conference, and she's lost a bunch of weight. She's really changed up her diet and her relationship with alcohol. And you can see when somebody like sees it for themselves, right? Yeah. And you really realize after some time the grass is greener on the other side. I love sunrises. This is a sunrise painting behind me that I got in Amelia Island over the marsh. I now love my mornings.
Yep.
And I've got another little boy, an almost 2-year-old, and I can be a clear-headed mom every day. They're hard days, obviously, because we're in crazy times, but my relationship with myself and my family overpowered the relationship I had with alcohol. And that is what really has kept me going. And I reached out to you after I saw your birthday post because you had, 2,000 plus days. And I'm like, that is phenomenal. And it's so cool that you're sharing and giving people a chance to share their story. And it made me open up my app, and I was like, I'm going to message her because she is so cool. And what she's doing is really special. And I've seen it firsthand, me opening up about my journey just within a year, changing somebody's life.
Yeah.
So that's a really long-winded answer how we got here, but I'm so proud to be on this with you and proud to be sharing my story.
Oh, that means a lot. And this whole podcast it was originally a different brand, my marketing brand, and I realized like I just really enjoyed hearing people's stories more than what they did for a living, and I was like, oh, but I have my sober group here in town, and I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I watch some people make it, and I watch some people relapse, and I've been to funerals of people that died way too young from their addiction, but then there's this group that I love that has also stayed sober that inspires me, and the joy that they had for their life when I was like, this still sucks. Like recovery, early sobriety sucks so bad. And I was like, I want this joy and this peace that they have. And I just know that I could not be the only one that felt that way. And so, it's people like you that are willing to come on and share their story. Where it's like, mine is just one story, but I think there's power in numbers. And, I am so joyfully walking into 7 years in December, and it's unbelievable how fast time has flown and how many people I've met along the way that I just had no idea were also in this sober journey. And I feel like I learn something every time I sit down and talk to somebody. It's the same story but different, and I get to learn something new every single time. It just never gets old.
I think the cool part is when you talk to people, no one can really, like, once you've accepted that this isn't for me, right? This isn't going to work for me. Like you have to accept it first. And the freedom that it really actually gives you, you have, again, I can't, and you might agree with this. Like, I cannot think of one good enough reason or even one good reason why I should.
Right.
Like I can socialize without it. I just went to 2 conferences this past week, and I can hang, but I'm going to be in bed by 8:30. And I'm not going to be puffy-eyed the next day. I really can't find myself a good reason to make that change again, because you are free. You're really, instead of thinking about, where are we going to go for happy hour or which brewery should we go check out or whatnot, like it's really kind of freeing to be bored.
Yeah.
And to just be able to actually chill and see the sunrise. I love a good sunrise now. I feel like
too. I got engaged at sunrise. I mean, it's my favorite day. I get that. But I just cannot imagine the difficulty because I am not a mom, of being a new mom and wrestling with this. And then, I know I have a lot of mamas in the village that I'm a part of, and it's very fun and it's very sweet. But I've also seen, the mental health afterwards for some people is already such a struggle. And then you put on top of that something that is a downer, a bit of a depressant to put in your body, and just not feeling like yourself every single day. That sounds so hard. And I don't want to project anything that you may or may not have gone through. I'm just like, that is something that I actually cannot imagine.
Yeah, and I think I was really struggling with that, right, at a 1-year-old. And I knew looking at him, I never wanted him to see me in a state where I wasn't really myself,
Yeah.
right? And I wanted him to have a parent that was present, because I really believe, like, being present, we've taken that away from ourselves because of our phones and our availability to all the information to each other. We don't have peace. Like, you can't walk out of the house without your phone, right? Like, what happened to landlines where you answered your phone when you were home? And there's just all these distractions. So we've become very anxious, as far as, in my opinion, I think, just people, and all this stimulus around us from the phones. My first phone had the Nokia, snake game on it. Like, I got my first iPhone as a freshman in college. Like, so I think we millennials, right, have come into this change of, the shift from cigarettes are cool to cigarettes are bad. And then now we're in this alcohol was cool. Wait, it's actually not that cool, and it's pretty bad for your body and for your mental health. And so I had to make a decision at that point. And I think motherhood has given me, especially with the second baby, I had a very, very traumatic birth experience with my second one. He came so fast, and it was not the experience at all I had with my first. And if I had been in a vulnerable state of leaning on alcohol as, to kind of calm me down or take the edge off, it's just an endless downward spiral,
Right.
for me at least. And so therapy has been phenomenal. I have a great therapist that I love. She's phenomenal. I started with BetterHelp. This was after my second. And yeah, I dealt with postpartum anxiety with the first, but I think some of that, is fueled by my diet and some of that too. You think that a glass of wine is going to calm you down, but it actually does the reverse. And it truly fuels your anxiety and depression. And so I knew I had to remove that. And so with the second one, not having that, I could still feel all those things, but I was able to acknowledge them and feel through and work through those emotions, and not try and just push them down and numb them, for lack of a better word, right? You have to just learn that it's okay. I think we all have this imposter syndrome naturally. Like, and
I would agree with that.
yeah, and it's okay to not be okay. You just can't stay there, right? You have to get yourself up and out. And I have learned that we're not supposed to do that on our own. You mentioned the community that you have and the people, whether you're a mom, whether you're, not a mom, whether you're new in your journey or far into it. I think you have to know you're not alone.
Yeah.
And that there's so many people that are silently suffering that you might not be aware of. And since I've been more active on LinkedIn over the last couple of years and made some new connections, you realize how many people have struggled with it and how normal it is. And that the best leaders out there and some of the, strongest people out there have gone alcohol free, because you can have a clear mind. And it's just, I think it's more of a superpower than anything nowadays.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's interesting because I am such a fan of, first of all, of going to therapy. I always say, like, it took a team to get me sober. and to keep me there. Because, I am through and through a raging alcoholic, and you don't know until you know. Like, you don't know it's a problem until it's caused enough issues and consequences that you are deeply uncomfortable with the state that you're in. And that
Mhm.
looks different for everybody. And for me, it was more severe than you would hope by the age of 25. Um, but then there's this like pivot where you have to face the bad feelings, like you said, and not numb them, but trust that you're going to be okay with the people that you've surrounded yourself with. And I think for so long, those of us that do use things to numb ourselves, and I know somebody that has like spent every bit of her free time in front of the TV, and that caused anxiety, just like watching the news all day long. But that was her way of like numbing and not dealing with like relationships in person, but then she's anxious about all these other things. And for me, it was alcohol, right? Like I would just pour it into myself, and then I would go, from present to not super fast. And then I had to start learning how to deal with those emotions all over again. And then like this shame and regret of this time that I had felt like I had wasted, and how I was perceived by people, and just kind of like peeling back all of these layers and learning how to take care of myself as an adult in a way that I never had before. And that was a little bit of a scary journey. And that's why I do think it took a team. Like I did need therapy. I needed somebody to affirm me. I needed a mentor to walk with me through it. I needed people that were in the same place that I was in to be like, was today hard for you? Because this sucked. And be able to check in with people that were exactly where I was in life. Um, but I'm glad, because now I know that I don't need things to feel better. I can sit with myself in my own skin and know that whatever that may be, if it's going to go for a walk, sometimes it's just running a bath and disconnecting
Mhm.
for 20 minutes and just some sensory deprivation. And sometimes it's just, a warm cup of coffee sitting by the fire and just taking a breath for a second. And those are tools that I had access to all along. I just didn't realize that that's what would make it better.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to realize like you're not chasing or running from anything, and
Yeah.
just like sitting in the moment and not expecting it to be anything, right? I think letting go of expectations and thinking that today's going to be a certain way and then feeling disappointed or whatnot. I
Yeah.
I had to implement, like, like you said, like it takes a while, right? And you have to try different things, and not everything works for everybody. And I have this gratitude journal that really helped get me out of the darkness with my second, and not, even um, substance or alcohol related, but just feeling down.
Yeah.
And with, like, I think anything, it doesn't matter what the substance is, it's that constant need for filling in that hole, and not being able to just really kind of breathe in the moment. And I have always been somebody that really leads with kind of an optimistic um, lens, and really trying to see the silver lining in everything. And I found myself focusing on the negative, right? And when you get in that spiral of negative thinking, it's hard to get off.
Yeah.
And so starting and ending with gratitude, and he actually writing things down, that really helped me refocus my mental state. Because it these past, since COVID, the world has just been really bizarre, for
Yeah.
lack of a better word. And in every market, it doesn't matter if you're in freight or tech or hospitality. I mean, you see layoffs across the board lately. But we can choose to stay positive, or we can choose to focus on the negative.
Right.
And I think one of the hardest things for me through my sobriety journey, and I'm really just kind of thinking about this now, is some of the friends that I did lose. and
Yeah.
some of the people that are not in my life anymore. And even if they wasn't like they were a drinking buddy, but just I've definitely feel like I've lost some good friends, but they were friends that took me to a negative space.
Yeah. Did you grieve that loss as that happened? Like, what did that look like for you?
Honestly, I think I still I don't know if it really necessarily goes away, right? Or at least it hasn't. I think a lot of like the journey and what you learn in therapy is like it's a constant. It's ongoing. It's never really like you're over it. You just kind of learn how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And so I still think about some of these friends, right? And I just think if I would when I talk to people, it's not that I can't be there for you when you're down, but we have to bring each other up. Like any relationship, right? You have to elevate each other and you're helping each other become better. And if somebody isn't helping you get better or vice versa over time, right? It's not like it's I'm going through this, I'm having a bad month. That's not what I mean. But just those relationships that might have, kind of brewed that negative thinking, right?
Right.
Or people that are stuck in that kind of mindset. I didn't expect that. I think that's been kind of surprising to me through my sobriety is changing up my friend group and it really helping me kind of narrow in on where my true friendships lie.
Yeah.
Because those people, that's gotten stronger.
Mm-hmm. And that is such a huge process that I feel like I share a lot with people that I meet that are new in sobriety and what that may look like, because nobody warned me about that either. And it is really there's this space, and I feel like it can fluctuate, right? But there is a type of loneliness when you get sober that I had never experienced before, where I wasn't invited to certain things by people that didn't know where my boundaries were, but were afraid to ask. And they were friends that I felt a little unsafe around and hadn't really given much thought to it until it was like, man, it is really centered around drinking, right? Like a former roommate of mine that I adored, but kept forgetting that I was sober and was like, hey, it's 2-for-1 margarita night, and it's like, that kind of sucks that it's been months and you keep forgetting. And the only time you invite me out is for that thing. And I would happily go just for some queso, but
Yeah.
but that part of me that felt very unseen in that friendship. And so it's just, like you said, you learn to live with it, but also not set the expectations that other people care. For me, it was learning that I can't expect other people to care about my sobriety as much as I do. And the people that championed it, I mean, those are the people that ended up being part of my tribe. And the ones that didn't, there was a bit of distance. And that sometimes grief comes in waves. And even to this day, there are still some friendships where there is a lot of sadness over not having them, but a lot of, I think, feeling proud of myself that I'm wise enough to know that it's okay. Because I think me from several years ago would have been like, well, that's just the end of the world. And it's not.
Yeah. And I didn't necessarily have any like really close friends that this happened to, but I will say I have absolutely noticed that when my sobriety makes somebody else uncomfortable, they usually have a problem with it themselves.
Yeah.
Like if you're ever out somewhere and, oh, I'll take a club soda and lime, it's the reaction that you get in that moment, that instance from somebody that shows you if they're comfortable with it in their own skin. Because
Yep.
the person that's like, oh, why aren't you drinking? Are you pregnant? Are you on like antibiotics? Like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Why aren't you drinking? Because I'm uncomfortable drinking myself, and you're making me uncomfortable by not doing it with me.
Yep.
So those people I very much, you kind of just have to brush that off. And it's, I hate to say it, but a little bit of like pity. Like, you're just like,
I was that person.
I know. And I was too. And I get that. Right. And you're looking around to fill up everybody's glass of wine, hoping they're almost done so you can fill up yours too,
Yeah.
and you're like, that's that like constant kind of thinking about the next and wanting more, and just like, a bus without brakes. Like it's not made, it's not engineered, from my understanding, to just have one.
Yeah.
That's not what the chemicals are
No.
made to do. It's you're supposed to want more. And some people, and I have friends, my best friend, she never drank much, and to this day doesn't. She's expecting another baby now, so that's exciting news. I found out this week.
That's exciting. For sure.
I'll spill her name on the podcast, but yeah, she's and we were together over for a girls' weekend in Palm Beach a few weeks ago. We haven't been on a girls' weekend, just the two of us, with no husbands, no babies, no agenda, in over a decade, and
Wow.
it was really, really cool. We had so much fun. Bonnie and Clyde, or Thelma and Louise. It was so much fun. But she's somebody that has seen me at my best and my worst. And I believe that people can have a very healthy relationship with alcohol because I've watched her do it. I've seen it firsthand. And honestly, most people can't. I think, from my experience or what I've witnessed, even, my husband, he went alcohol free earlier this year, and he didn't have a problem at all, in my opinion. Like, he wasn't consistently drinking, or, he always had an off switch, but he just really wanted to get healthy. And something about turning 35, he was like, he read something online that was like, men's bodies start shutting down at 35 or something, because he's gone into overdrive. He's got an Ironman in Chattanooga next year. He's on the books, but he joined me, I guess, and it's been really cool years later to watch his journey through the eyes of somebody who's done it myself, and I'm very much on the other side of it, where I'm almost 5 years. I think it takes about at least a year, in my opinion, to like kind of, not really feeling like the pressure of it really anymore. It kind of alleviates itself almost.
Yeah. I feel like the first year you're just like learning and existing. It's like the days where everything just feels like it's wrong. You're just trying to exist in the world as it is. And then the other days you're just learning. And it's beautiful and very difficult and totally worth it, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Again, sobriety's given me freedom. It's given me confidence. It's given me the body that I've always wanted. I mean,
you lose a lot of weight when you stop drinking. If you drank like I did, like a lot of the sugary things, and all of a sudden you're like, oh.
Yeah, you're like, where'd those cheekbones come from? Like, wow. Yeah, it's definitely a booster, a mood booster, and confidence booster in a lot of ways. And I'm really glad that the tides have shifted. I mean, you go now out to any restaurant and they have alcohol-free options. It's not just O'Doul's anymore. Like, I'm not drinking that. I'm not drinking beer just for the taste of beer, that's for sure. Right. So it's really nice to see. Even at this conference I was at, they had the White Claw seltzers that were non-alcoholic. Like, we are definitely not the weirdos anymore. Like, you're kind of accepted, I feel like, now that we're on the menu. It used to drive me crazy early on, and this was a me thing, but anytime we would meet friends out at a brewery or anything that had to do with a brewery, the water was always by the dog bowls. So to go fill up your water when you didn't want a beer, you had to go to the dog bowls.
No, what are we doing? That's
being like, I'm gonna go get some hot water with the dogs.
That's the kind of place where it's like, I just brought my own water bottle in. Sorry. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot better than the dog water nowadays. The menus have
Like,
elevated.
the tides are changing, and
Yeah,
I
they
like there's, like, a term, sober curious, and I think it's one of those, like, trendy the next generation's kind of, like, dabbling into, like, this health and wellness, and I
Mhm.
love that not drinking is being categorized in this, like, health and wellness kind of field because everybody that I've talked to that has stuck it out with not wanting to drink, or people that maybe didn't have a problem but were curious about what it would be, that do like the dry January kind of thing.
Mhm.
I've yet to meet a person that was like, "That was a terrible time." Most of them are like, "I feel
Yeah.
great, like, I have this energy, my skin is glowing." Like I was the same where it's like, I lost, 20 pounds out of nowhere. I was like, I didn't even know that I had that problem, that was a contributor to me not feeling my best. And so I do really love that it is now flowing into in our industry,
Mhm.
like the conferences and the networking and things like that, where it's not odd. And I don't feel singled out. I don't feel
Mhm.
uncomfortable. I'm far enough along, I think, in my recovery, and I feel confident enough in where I'm at, where if it is offensive, I just really don't care. Like that
Yeah,
the one that's offended, so I don't know, it sounds like a you problem, but
exactly.
but also, you know, I just don't see people that are having as many questions about it, I should say, and I think that's really refreshing, and that makes me really excited for, um, people that are just starting out, that are finding themselves in those situations of this new wave of inclusivity, uh,
Mhm.
and I hope that we keep seeing that trend.
I do think we will. It's honestly, it's people like you that have taken it upon themselves to spread the word and put yourself out there. That's given me the confidence to put myself out there, right? So it's that continual spread of acceptance.
Mhm.
And no, it's not cool to be fat and hungover. Like, it's
It's
just not.
not.
Let's be real. Like,
No, and I wish that that was just, like, the descriptor of me, when I was drinking. I was feral. It's
yeah, it's not a good look. There's
it's
nothing
not. Like,
no, young mom, we don't want young mom to not look good or feel good, or even young Whitney, right? 25 is a really, young and brave and vulnerable age to have made that shift. I was 30, right? So it was, um, it but and it's this next generation, I think, that's, you know, with me in bed at 8:30. They don't seem to be at the club at 2 o'clock and,
no.
they're big heels and it's freezing outside and we're, the tides have shifted where
They
we
have. They wash
definitely
their face at night when they get home.
yeah, I love the wellness movement. It's a lot better than the boozy movement because it's all the advertising and you're in marketing, right? The the amount of misinformation that is
Yes.
put in front of us and is made to feel elegant and exclusive and um, what you should be doing,
Yeah.
right? And that's it, I think finally this us our generation is like we want transparency, we
Mhm.
want reality. I can't live in this alternate universe um, of just kind of that facade. I feel like of the martinis and the Mad Men, right?
Yeah.
That era of, like, having your whiskey bottle in your drawer. I've seen people that have alcohol bottles in their drawer, and it is not good. It is not a good look.
Nope.
Early in my career, one of my mentors is my older cousin, McLean, and he made a comment early in my career, like, "You never should be the drunkest one," and I wasn't, he was just coaching me, but he's like, "You never wanna be the drunkest one at the
Yep.
party," right? And I've seen coworkers and I've seen people, and I made it a point very early on, even when I was drinking, to not be a heavy drinker at those conferences or at customer visits or anything like that. You just can't put that light. in front of you. And it's really amazing how it can hurt your reputation.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people take that for granted when you're out and in public, because people talk. And when you come across in a sloppy way, that portrays you from a business perspective. Like, we're not different people at 8 p.m., 8 a.m. We're all the same person.
And that was an immense amount of shame that I had to walk back. And I will say I was very excited to move cities after I got sober. And I moved to the city where I started drinking in the first place. So sometimes even now I bump into people that knew me in college. I'm like, I am hoping that maybe you thought that was just a phase, because the people in Nashville knew that it was not. Did not grow out of it. And I will say, I remember, this is terrible. I love showing my ugly cards, but like, I remember there were some other girls that would do things, that were like not the best decisions, just like myself. And I would make sure to make comments on those things to deflect the attention off of myself. Mm-hmm. And I hate that I did that. And I know people saw through it. So,
don't feel bad. That was, in the moment, that was the best you can do. Like,
it was, I was sick. I was a sick person. I was making very horrible choices, but I had to be able to look in the mirror and be like, this is who I'm choosing to be. Like, I know that I'm sick, but if I can get sober, then I have a choice to not be that person anymore. And I love that I have a choice today, because that was, 25, like you said, that's a really young age to get sober. And I had done a lot of damage by the time I turned 25.
And I bet when you run into people now, you see people, you're in Chattanooga, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you see people now, I don't want to assume, but I bet their first reaction is, Whitney, you look amazing.
I have a lot of people telling me that I look really happy today.
And that's because you feel better, right?
I feel amazing. And then, people from my past that like knew me as an adult, like an adult with a job in Nashville in this industry, I still get that little bit of fear. Like, I'm glad that I have the support that I have and the therapy that I've had, because I know how to combat it. But I think there's still human nature in me that has this like visceral response to it. Mm-hmm. And it's like the grief, that is something else that I've learned to live with. I don't beat myself up over the fact that I have that feeling. Because that was me 7 years ago as a really sick person. Mm-hmm. And I feel a lot of empathy for that girl. And I know that I'm not the only one that felt that way. And I'm not the only one that's ever done that. And so now I can just put the ugly cards on the table and be like, hey, if you've done this, I can tell you, you can face those people and be really proud of who you are today, and just put a period at the end of that sentence.
You said something early in the conversation about like parenting yourself. And I think that's something from therapy we all learn. It's like, yes, you are still that girl, right? I'm still the girl, right? We all have our own history from what led up to the start of drinking and the end of drinking. Wow. And you now have the chance to parent yourself and give that girl what she was missing, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of what addiction comes from, or any of that, is filling in a void somewhere.
Right.
And that's, again, it's a work. I don't have it all figured out. Like, everybody still has their things, right? It's the awareness to just keep working at it, to be honest with yourself and with your loved ones, and to like, tell your boss, hey, I need a break today. I'm gonna need some time to work on me and to have a supportive environment. And I'm really excited for your next chapter, and I hope that you're walking into a really good leadership team, because I firsthand know that support from your direct leader is all that you can ask for, right? Somebody that puts you first as a human, as a person, as a woman, and then as an employee. And I'm really grateful for this journey. I think it's you in the moment, it's really hard in those first few times that you go to a social setting and you're out at a bar or you're with your old friends and it's like that. What do I say?
Yeah.
Do I say I'm taking a break? Do I say I'm sober curious? Do I say, this wasn't for me? Do I say I'm sick? Like, I don't want to say I'm pregnant. So like, that you get over that. Like,
Yeah, and then you learn, you just say, "Oh, I'm not drinking tonight."
yeah, I'm good. I'm just gonna have some water. And then like I said earlier, you will find somebody that is not comfortable with that.
Right.
But 9 times out of 10, it's because they're not comfortable with their own relationship with alcohol. And
Mm,
you just have to just say, "No, I'm good, thanks though." Like, "You go ahead. Don't let me stop you." Like,
yeah.
I've been there before. Like, we're all in this together and not judging those people. And I just don't have the expectations that, I'm gonna quit drinking today and tomorrow everything's gonna be fixed in my life. Like, that's not
Right.
it. You still have those things. You just have to deal with them and create your own tool belt that can be whatever it is. Everybody's sober tool belt is different.
Yep.
And it's, I think, just a constant work in progress. And then making a community and talking to people like you and keeping the word out there that it is cool to be sober.
Yeah. And what a gift to, like, have that tool belt and to start
Yeah.
building it up, to like, if you're gonna be curious about yourself and who you are,
Mhm.
and what makes up who you are, and how to do those things really well, because I had one solution, and now I have, like, this endless supply, and for some of my tool belt, I didn't even have to do it myself. There are
Mhm.
people before me that are smarter than me, that have lived more life than me. They're like, "This is what I did, and it worked for me," and I'm like, "Great, put that in the toolbox."
Mhm.
I'm
You have
sure
to
I'm gonna do
ask.
it one day.
You have to ask for that though, right? Like, people aren't always going to,
Yeah,
like you said, you're your biggest champion, you're your biggest, sober advocate, but you have to ask. You have to
yeah,
ask yourself, "Do I wanna get better? Do I wanna be a better mom? Do I wanna have, feel better in my skin? Do I wanna sleep better? Do I wanna have better relationships?" All those things, a better job, whatever. Most of the times that is going to come from your daily habits and what you're doing every day. And so not being afraid to ask yourself, but then on that second note, once you are comfortable with it, ask for help. Ask
yes,
anyone around you that I'm a firm believer in learning from people that have tried, right? I don't always have the answers, but I try and figure out who to ask and where to go and to try and find it that way and being resourceful and just not being afraid to ask yourself those hard questions, but then really ask somebody else. And now, like, because of podcasts like yours, anyone who is sober can go find so many resources now because our community has grown so much and it's become so normalized and mainstream that there's just a there's you don't have to necessarily go through some strict program or anything. You can learn from the people that are sharing their stories too.
yeah.
It's a
And I
great
I really haven't met in years, maybe more than 2 people who were not able to help, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know that I've ever met anybody who wasn't at least willing to try. And
Yeah.
so that's a pride thing. There, at least
Mhm.
it was for me, to kind of set that aside and ask for help. Of like, I remember the first time I had to ask an employer for a day, like a mental health day. I was struggling with something and I needed to go to like a group and I needed to talk through it. And then I needed to like process things and I needed to just be alone and I needed to do my therapy work. I just needed space and I
Mhm.
had to ask for it. And I remember the first time that I encountered a situation that was really humiliating from my past and it kept coming up. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. I want to melt into a puddle.
Mhm.
And, the woman that I talked to was like, "Oh, man, yes, okay." So, and I was like, "Oh," just people are so willing to help. And I bet if somebody came to you, you wouldn't want to gatekeep the things that bring joy and peace. You want to give it away as fast as you can to as many people as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you see that the light is, it stays on the other side of the fence, right? You're really better off and you're free. You absolutely want to share it. And that's why I reached out to you just to say happy birthday. I wasn't expecting to come on this. I was really just wanted to wish you a happy day. And then you immediately asked me to come on here. And I thought, I haven't talked about it this in depth yet. So I knew that this would be the spot, right, to dive into it, because what you're doing is really, really special. And I know that you're helping people, and it's just, we have to, because you feel in those moments so isolated and so alone, and that there's something wrong with you or any of that. And like, that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, we are not alone. People should not be suffering in silence. And a lot of people, I think, probably are. So I'm just hopeful that we can touch one more person that can say, you know what, those are two normal looking girls. And hey, it's, I'm a normal looking gal, and maybe I don't need to have a glass of wine on Wednesday night. Like, maybe I could go a month, just trying it. I think people giving themselves a chance, it became so normal and so pushed in front of us that happy hour, like, I want to work at a company that celebrates us in other ways. Like, what else can we do? And I think when anyone can see, hopefully another young girl, another 25-year-old Whitney, that's like, you know what, this is enough. Enough's enough. And it really, I really hope that you can continue this. I'm really grateful for the time today with you. This is very special. I'm running on fumes, but I wouldn't have missed this. That's for sure.
I really appreciate you being here. And I know we're running out of time. But if anybody is curious, or they relate to what you've said, or they just want to have somebody in their corner and they want to reach out to you, what is the best way for somebody to find and connect with you?
I won't spell out my whole email because it's just too many letters. But Taylor Vandersteenhoven on LinkedIn. I'm with Revanova. I would love to talk about anything. Honestly, I'm an open book. Speaking of books, my favorite book that I read throughout that was a lot of what, instead of going through a program, I did a lot of reading with therapy. And The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober by Catherine Gray. I don't know if you've read that one. She is was a New York Times publicist or Glamour magazine writer, like very high up. Magazine, was at all the parties with Lady Gaga. Like, she was in the scene, and it's her true story about finding happiness and finding that freedom and peace through sobriety, and what that looked like. And especially before kind of it became a little bit more normalized. But LinkedIn, I'm an open book, and I love connecting with new people. So please reach out. And I know this won't be the last time we talk, Whitney. I'm excited to have you in my network now.
Me too. And so for anybody that, wants to reach out, please do. Taylor, this has been a fantastic episode. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I know you reached out just with a simple message, and I just tossed it right back at you and said, come on the show and tell your story if you're willing to. So I know you think what I'm doing is special, but you're a part of that too. So what you're doing is also really special. And I just am so honored that you were vulnerable with your story today. So thank you again for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
And everybody else, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.